Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bahawadash, Call Halem La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bahawadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. And salutations to all you Akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity, always in charity. Value for the truth, coming at you with another lesson inspired by the Holy Spirit, Baharak Wadash. Lord willing, this lesson is edifying to your elect. And pretty much this is going into the part 2 of the lesson I made before in regards to, we are here, man. Okay, we are here, right? All right, America has crossed that threshold, and brothers been pushing out, lessons, man, going into how, man, it's past the point of no return, man. Okay, like Esau, man, they like to bring it out, man. They got this phrase that you like, nigga, they have crossed the Rubicon, man. They have crossed the Rubicon, nigga. All right, this nigga has crossed the Rubicon, nigga. There ain't no turning back. Yeah, nigga, there ain't no turning back. And why? Once again, I'm gonna bring that back out in this is Second Esdras, chapter 16, and verse 3. I'll start at verse 2. It says, gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair, bewail your children, and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. Okay? That it is. We passed the threshold, man. All right? A sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? All right? So showing you that there is no reversal of this word, man. The word of the Lord. All right. The Lord said it. He says he's going. It says none of his words are going to come back unto him void, man. All right. Chapter Second Esdras, chapter 16, verse 6. It says, "Man, may any man drive away a hungry lion in the wood, or may anyone quench the fire in stubble when it has begun to burn?" And that's what's taking place, man. The Lord has kindled a fire, man. All right, a fire has been kindled in this anger. It says you that in Slakia. It says this is Second Esdras chapter 16 verse 68. It says, "For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols." Right? But the point I'm making on that is how a burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over us, man. All right, it's already written, man. The Lord is beginning to send forth judgments. All right, throughout Babylon the Great, man. Different diverse plagues, pestilences, and whatnot. People crashing out, bugging out, man. Okay, the society is getting the economy, right? Esau putting a stranglehold on the citizen now. With the fund this war, this conflict in Iran, man. And I was looking into that, man. It was speaking about how, man, look, let me just put this into context for you. Okay, when you had World War II, right? Okay, you had what they called a total war. It was mass mobilization. All right. Everybody from the lower echelons to the upper echelons in this society, man, they had to apply themselves, man, to further the war effort. That's why you've seen a lot of, factories, women got out of the house, right? Got into the factories. That's where you get the, what's that? That broad's name, man, Rosie the Riveter, right? Rosie the Riveter. That's where that derives from, man. The total war mass mobilization effort, okay, where society had to collectively band together to further the war effort, man. So that required what? Them putting time, energy, all right, sacrificing their paychecks, right? Because all of this had to go towards the war effort. Well, today that's actively taking place, but on an indirect, on a more subtle scale, okay? But it's taking place by way of generational wealth is being stripped away from the citizen now, man. So all these individuals trying to build generational wealth, man, that ain't happening, man. That ain't happening, man. They went into how this conflict has cost the United States $118 billion. All right. And I may be mistaken on that because it possibly could be more. All right. But you can look it up for yourself. But this has cost the United States $118 billion. And that's falling back upon the taxpayers, man. All right. That's calling back upon the average United States citizen. And how they said it is that pretty much it's not going to be it's not affecting the society overtly how World War II affected society overtly, where it was obvious that it was a total war effort, mass mobilization, right? It's going to affect society indirectly by way of rising grocery prices. All right. Gas prices going up, the cost of living going up. It's going to be harder and harder to sustain yourself here in this society due to the rising this squeeze, okay, that this damn devil is putting upon society, man, upon upon the people in this society, man. So you know uh hey, man, you know and it's not going to change neither. It's not going to get better. All right. That's why we're reading about. You feel me? The plague has been sent among you, man. Nobody gonna turn them back. It's not gonna get better. All right, ain't gonna be nobody gonna come and no, nigga. America ain't gonna be great again, man. All right, this place is going down, man. Okay, this is Second Ezra chapter 16 verse 7. It says, "May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer." Okay, it says, "The mighty Lord sendeth the plagues, and who is he that can drive them away? A fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it?" All right, nobody, man. This is all of the willpower Yahweh Shema Shai, man. Okay, all of his will, man, all of his counsel, man. And we seeing it taking place, man. We see the hopeful elect seeing it taking place in these last days, man. We're rejoicing in it, man. Okay, we're rejoicing in seeing these prophecies take place in these last days, man. All right, and pretty much, just wanted to further dig into how we could be further edified and reassured that we are at the end, man. Because this conversation that I was having with the AI overview, man. All right, and it was giving the parallels of what's taking place right now geopolitically on the world stage, man, and United States' situation, and comparing it to World War I and World War II, man, showing you that there's no new thing under the sun, man. That which has been is that which shall be. Just got to bring it out just for edification's sake, man. This is Ecclesiastes showing you there's no new thing under the sun. All right, Lord is cold, man. He's cold with it. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9. It says, "The thing that has been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun." You see, and that's how we're able to apply these parallels, these historical precedents, man, in today's time, man, because they say, history repeats itself. All right. So literally you're seeing history repeat itself, man, in live time, man. All right. There's different actors. Okay, well, in this state, in this situation, man, the United States, man, hey, man, you feel me? They it's the same actor. He is the United States is the what's the word I'm looking for? He's a medium, okay? A reoccurring theme. There's a reoccurring theme with the United States in the middle of all this. All right. So pretty much, from picking up from where we left off, because we left off on point 5, where it talks about the catalyst effect. It says strategic ambiguity until a shock, right? So pretty much it was going into how, this doctrine of strategic ambiguity that the United States has been, exerting, right? All of that is going down the drain, man. It's forcing Yahweh Shem Yahushai is forcing Babylon's hand, man. Okay, is forcing Babylon's hand. So there is no strategic ambiguity as far as, it may or may not do this in regards to this situation, or if this conflict was to happen, like, for example, like they mentioned Taiwan and China, right? All right. They said that's the main, that doctrine is mainly applied in regards to that conflict right there, that situation in itself. Hypothetically speaking, if China and Taiwan were to go to war, which, like I said, through the spirit, I believe that next year, man, that's going to be the year, man. All right. And this is based upon their own proclamations. But nevertheless, they said that when it comes to United States' stance on that with strategic ambiguity, man, okay, hey, the Lord is going to force Babylon's hand, man. All right, and not just with that conflict, but just with all these other conflicts that's taking place, man, around the world, man. All right, you see, you feel me? Because what? Ultimately, it's like, look, the Lord is. It says what? The Lord is raising up uh, these smaller nations, man, in these last days, man, to come up against you. All right, talks about that in what is that in Joel? This is Joel chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let up, let all the men, Slakia, let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. You see? Let the weak say I'm strong. So all these developing nations, like countries, they call it the global south, man. All right. The global south, a lot of these small countries, these smaller countries are now, they're beginning to, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, right? They are beginning to rise up, man. All right. And they're seeing their number one enemy, man, is Esau Edom. Okay. This is all according to prophecy. All right. But they're raising up, man, and you're seeing that a lot of these other countries now, you feel me? America ain't the only one with nuclear, nuclear weapons. Okay, they're not the only ones with nuclear weapons, man. A lot of these smaller countries have nuclear weapons, and we can grab that. All right, Lord willing, a lot of these other smaller developing countries have nuclear weapons, man, and they are not America's allies. Okay, so that's the weak saying that they are strong, man. Like it says, and it says there's a time for everything under the sun, a time for peace and a time for war. And right now we have entered into that time of war. All right. We have entered into that time of war. There's no way around it. All right. And this is all of the Lord's doing. So, a lot of these wacky tacky Christians, talking about God is all love. And, the scriptures say that God is a man of war as well. Okay. All right. It says in Isaiah 45, man, he says, I create peace and I create evil, man. I, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, do all these things, man. All right. So it's a time of war. All right. The plagues have been sent. Who may turn them back? All right. I'll end it off in this verse 11. This is Joel chapter 3, verse 11. It says, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen and gather yourselves together round about. There cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. All right. So, so the Lord is assembling. All right. I got to bring it out. This is Isaiah chapter 13. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 1, it says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. It says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may that they may go into the gates of the nobles. Right. So, hey, man, they rallying. You seeing a lot of these countries rallying around the flag, man. All right. Like you had the funeral for the Ayatollah Khamenei, right? They showing how, them Iranians, man, they're rallying around the flag. It's like they're rallying around the flag. All right. So, yeah, man. So hey, man, this, the nations are being roused up. It says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Right. It says the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. The Lord of hosts mustereth the hosts for battle. All right. So the Lord is doing these things in these last days, man. All right. The Lord is doing these things in these last days, man. And we're seeing it taking place, man. And ultimately is what? Because the counsel that the Lord has proposed upon Babylon. All right. Upon Egypt. All right. Which is modern day America. All right. All right. This is all according to his purpose. So continuing on with the AI overview, it said, I says, considering the active conflicts currently taking place on Earth right now, could one speculate based on our conclusions previously drawn in this thread, as well as considering the existence of fourth generation warfare doctrine that the earth is currently in the midst of the proverbial third world war, all right? This is the answer that it gave me. It says, based on modern strategic doctrines and the historical patterns discussed, many prominent military analysts and geopolitical scholars argue that the Earth is already experiencing the opening, decentralized phases of the third global conflict. Okay. All right. So, hey, man, hey, we talking about military minds, man, strategic military minds. Okay. And they're drawing these conclusions, man. And while we're doing this through the prophets out there are just telling you that, hey, this is all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. This is what's written. All right. This is what's written. It says, rather than a singular sudden declaration of war, we spoke about that, man. There ain't gonna be no declaration of war, man. Don't look for a date which shall live in infinite. Don't look for that, man. Don't look for no a congressional declaration of war, man. You seeing how Trump has been able to circumvent that, man, to scurry around that, man. We are United States is in an active conflict in Iran, man. They just passed the merger. The United States and Israel just been passed the merger to where they're going to combine the militaries together, man. All right. This is all according to prophecy, man. All right. It says what? The least of the flock shall draw them out, man. Let's get that real quick. Okay. And once again, the Lord is causing his own counsel to fall upon his own head. This is Jeremiah chapter 49. In verse 20 says, therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. Hear the counsel of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man, that he has taken against Edom, right? You so-called white man, man. All right? The so-called white man, Babylon the Great, man. And his purposes that he has proposed against the inhabitants of Timan. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Okay, that's what the Lord's doing, man. The least of the flock is talking about them so-called JOOs, man. All right, them JOOs, man. Them small hats, man. Them swizzle sticks, man. All right, over there in the Holy Land. All right, pursuing the Revelations 3 and 9, man. All right, also pursuing the Ezekiel 35 and 36. All right, that's the least of the flock. All right, drawing out. Okay, these Babylonians, man, to do their bidding, man. So it says, rather than a singular sudden declaration of war, this contemporary conflict manifests as a highly synchronized web of proxy wars, economic blockades, and non-linear operations. Okay, so that's why it's so much confusion and it's so ambiguous in regards to one being able to recognize that we are in the midst of World War III as of right now. All right. Okay. Now, granted, okay, we are not hearing of active troops, active mobilization of troops, and active, United States service members out there within these these active war zones, right? So granted, we're not hearing about that, but that's not saying that that's not actively happening, man. And that's the word I was looking for in my last lesson, man. Mercenaries, man. There is American mercenaries out here in a lot of these active war zones, right, around the world, man. All right. A lot of active mercenaries, man. A lot of mercenaries active right now in these war zones, man, and especially over there in Ukraine. All right. And Ukraine right now is pretty much the focal point, all right, of World War II. But according to prophecy, man, it's going, the so-called Middle East, all right, which is Western Asia, right? That's going to be the focal point of prophecy concerning World War III, man. That's going to be the focal point, man. The Valley of Yahweh Shaphat, the Lord's judgment, man. All right, you can read about that in Joel. But nevertheless, this is why it's not so clear as day, right? Except you're looking at this spiritually and prophetically, right? That United States is in the midst of the Third World War, because it's not looking like World War I, where you had trench warfare, right? All right, motherfuckers flying around and you know, the robber baron and shit like that, dropping bombs and shit like that. You know, like, you know, mass mobilization of troops and whatnot. Like, it don't look like that like it did in World War II, right? You know, all these different theaters opening up. You know, you know the battle what was that, Nagasaki? Oh, no, not Nagasaki, I forgot the Okinawa. You know, if not quoting that particular battle correctly, forgive me, Salakia. You feel me? But the point that I'm making is that this is why it don't look the way it looked in these traditional, you know, or these historical precedents that we have of World War I and World War II. It says, when filtering current global events, Salakia, it says, when filtering current global events through the lens of our previous historical conclusions, the fourth generation warfare, or 4GW, which blurs the lines between war and politics, soldiers and civilians, several compelling arguments support this perspective, okay? It talks about how the lines have been blurred, all right, between war and politics, and soldiers and civilians. And another aspect to add on to that is the cyber, you know, the cyber warfare that's going on as well, man. All right, that's another aspect that, you know, you didn't have in World War I and World War II that is now you can call it a theater, okay? The cyber theater, right? Just like you had in World War II, you know, the European theater, the Pacific theater, right? Well, you have a cyber theater, man. That's currently active, man, and you can for sure feel it. All right, when it's a blackout, man. Okay, when they shut down the grid, all right, all that takes is a push of a button, man. Okay, so it says point one: the fluidity of fourth generation warfare. It says traditional world wars, were defined by third generation warfare. Massed armies, clear state boundaries, and formal declarations, right? By contrast, 4GW focuses on asymmetric tactics, decentralized networks, and the weaponization of information. The invisible front lines. In a 4GW framework, invisible front lines, man. So that's why it's like it's hard to know, like, man, where, okay, well, you know, we know that there's an active, you know, war zone going on in Ukraine, but at the same time, you feel me? Hey, man, hey, United States is currently laying siege to its own citizens right now, man. All right, currently laying siege to its own citizens, man. That's an invisible front line. In 4GW framework, a catastrophic cyber attack on critical civilian infrastructure, a massive state-sponsored disinformation campaign designed to fracture domestic elections, or the targeted manipulation of global supply chains are not pre-war actions. They are active kinetic operations. You see? All right, these are not pre-war. All right, under the you know, under 4GW framework, these are not pre-war uh, 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 um, uh, tactics. All right, this is active kinetic operations, like it says. It says state versus non-state actors. The current global landscape features state actors seamlessly blending with non-state proxies, such as the Houthi movement disrupting global shipping lanes in the Red Sea, or private military corporations operating globally. This fulfills the core definition of 4GW. Warfare is no longer a monopoly held exclusively by sovereign states, right? That's another difference, you know, a main difference between the war that's currently taking place right now, this Third World War, and World War One and World War II. All right, those were primarily state actors. All right, that was, you know, and you know, Esau Edom, man, it was E on E violence, man. I want to talk about, you know, so-called black on black crime, man. That was white on white, man. So-called white on white, man. E on E. It says point two. It says the existence of a networked axis. In our previous discussion, we noted how separate regional conflicts in the 1930s eventually coalesced. Today, separate localized battlefields are deeply bound together by a highly cooperative anti-Western axis. All right. It says material and technological synergy. The war in Eastern Europe, conflicts across the Middle East, and escalating tensions in the Indo-Pacific are no longer isolated. Russian relies on Iranian drones and North Korean ammunition, also troops as well. While China provides the critical dual-use technology and economic lifelines that keep those war machines running. See? It says global proxy system. Much like the 32-month period before the United States entered World War II, major powers are already actively engaged in killing the soldiers and destroying the hardware of their primary adversaries. They are simply doing it through proxies like Ukraine or via regional middle powers rather than firing directly at one another. You see? All right, so them niggas is looking at it like it's Call of Duty. All right, these state actors are playing Call of Duty through proxies. That's pretty much what it is. Economic cognitive conscription. World Wars One and Two required total domestic mobilization. Recall what we was talking about at the beginning of this lesson, man. All right, that total war effort, man. All right. It says economic and cognitive conscription. All right. In a 4GW World War, mobilization does not require drafting millions of citizens into uniform. Instead, it conscripts global markets and public consciousness. All right. It says weaponized interdependence. It says the total freezing of foreign central bank assets, sweeping semiconductor export bans, and a sudden rerouting of global energy corridors represent a scale of economic warfare typically reserved for total conflict, total global conflict. Why do you think all these data centers are springing up all of a sudden, man? All right. It says total cognitive, and you know, when it comes to those data centers, and brothers been doing lessons and videos, and it's also coming out more and more just by, you know, you seeing individuals rising up against that, man. You feel me? The how they're having to reallocate, right? The water, you know, how it's you know, they're pretty much stealing the water sources, man. They're pretty much uh, robbing, okay, the citizens of the natural water and the energy. You feel me? And once again, the population is taking upon that burden because by way of the gas prices rising, the electrical prices rising, right? You know, their bills rising and whatnot. You know, that's how they're carrying the burden of these data centers, which Esau is using, you know, in regard if as part of his war, you know, his war campaign, man. That's what these data centers are springing in for, okay? And we're reading about it. Cognitive battlefield. It says through algorithms, social media manipulation, and psychological operations, foreign adversaries actively wage war on the cognitive security of Western populations, seeking to inflame the exact internal isolationist divisions we discussed earlier. It says, you know, so pretty much, you know, it's going into the counter argument why some reject the term. I'll read it just for, you know, fairness sake. It says, while the parallels are striking, many historians and strategic realists resist labeling the current era World War III due to one defining absence: direct, symmetric, great power, kinetic conflict. Direct, symmetric, great power, kinetic conflict. You know, it's talking about, you know, pretty much how you don't see missiles shooting off, man. You don't see them nuclear bombs shooting off, because we do know that this third world war is going to go nuclear. All right. All right. So pretty much it's speaking about the nuclear deterrent. The presence of nuclear arsenals creates a structural ceiling that prevents the current situation from fully matching 1914 or 1939. As long as the United States, NATO, China and Russia avoid direct soldier versus soldier combat. Some argue that the world remains in a hyper-fractured Cold War 2.0, or an era of great power competition, rather than a true world war. It says ultimately, whether the world is currently in World War III depends on your definition. If a world war requires millions of state troops clashing on a single continuous battlefield, then we are not there. But if a world war is defined by highly interconnected global struggle for a new world order, fought across economic, cyber, proxy, and cognitive domains, the historical patterns suggest the threshold has already been crossed. All right. So we're here, man. We're here. Ultimately, we know that threshold has been crossed, just like it spoke on. We know that we're here because ultimately it's the will of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, it's the will of Yahweh Shem Shai. I'm gonna get a precept and I'm gonna close it out. Salakia. This. This is it ain't working. This is Isaiah chapter 55, verse 11. It says, I'll start at verse 10. It says, for as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not there, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Okay, so this is ultimately the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. All right. This is the will of empower Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because ultimately what it is. About that. Finishing off in that Joel. Joel chapter 3. It says, assemble, Joel chapter 3, verse 11. It says, assemble yourselves, come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. There cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be awakened, and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Salakia. There will I sit to judge the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. It says multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision. For the day of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai is near in the valley of decision. All right? And that's ultimately what's taking place, man. The Lord is pretty much staging the way, man. All right? He's pretty much paved the way, man, for this bitch to blow up, man. All right? And it's a powder keg, man. We sitting on a powder keg, man, and these people don't even realize it, all right? But they feeling it, though. They feeling it, all right? So I made it off there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakwadash, for putting it on my spirit to push out this lesson. And Lord willing, it was edifying. Till next time, Shalom.